See ya. Paid all my dues and that made me a boss. I ain't tripping over shit that I lost. Pick me a bag up. Shit on these niggas, I still know how to piss them off. I'm highly intoxicated, and I've been that.
All right, boom. First podcast after the NBA Finals. It's been a little while, but we have a lot to talk about today. We got the NBA draft. We got the Anthony Davis trade. We got NBA free agency coming up. So it's going to be a good little show. So let's start with the finals. 4-2 Toronto, obviously. Raptors. I feel like the media talked about it for all of 2 days.
Yeah, they're like, all right,
on to the next.
Real basketball's over. Let's just get to what everyone loves. In the
the Anthony Davis trade really kind of also everybody kind of forgot about the finals as soon as that.
Oh yeah.
As soon as that, and that happened a few days after, huh?
Yeah, it was that Saturday.
So by the time that got released, it was the Raptors were out of everybody's minds.
Fitting that the Raptors would win a finals where that happens.
Right? Yeah, Canada. I'm glad it's Canada. Like we're not supposed to care about Canada, so it's all good. I don't know, man. To me, this was pretty underwhelming. I know I don't take anything away from Toronto. Like Kawhi Leonard willed his team. The role players stepped up big time, which was shocking. Like Fred VanVleet, game 6, that was incredible. Pascal, Kyle Lowry, which was huge. He totally redeemed his career. But Klay Thompson was out 2 games. Kevin Durant played half a game or not even half a game. It was underwhelming. It wasn't the true Warriors. It wasn't the Warriors we've seen in the championship.
Yeah, we were robbed of I enjoyed the series. It was actually a very entertaining series, but we were robbed of a Durant Kawhi showdown in the finals for one. And then the freaking Klay injury happens the next game, and it's just it was very unfortunate how it went down. And like you said, like you don't want to take anything away from Toronto because they deserve the championship. They played their asses off. They were very sound and intelligent on defense. They were great at switching around. And when it was just Curry and Draymond, they executed box and ones and zone man-to-man hybrids well. And it's just unfortunate that injuries are part of the game, but it's still unfortunate when it happens, especially to big-time players. So all in all, I won some money from it. So it was a.
Oh yeah, you bet on it. What point you bet
I didn't
on
bet the whole series, but I bet a lot of game-to-game action, especially after the second game of the series, and it was pretty. I believe in Toronto, man, with all the injuries and how thin Golden State's roster was. The books kept giving Vegas. The books kept giving Toronto. They kept giving Golden State, a lot of respect in the spreads, and I just felt Golden State was just way too thin with no Durant. Then Klay pulled his hamstring early in the series. He had 2 injuries in the series. Came back from that one fairly well. Then, unfortunately, a way worse injury happened later on. But give credit to Toronto though. Nick Nurse did a great coaching job, and that team deserved the title, man. And Kawhi, obviously we had the Conn Smythe Trophy. Should it be a playoff MVP debate last podcast? But he was good enough in the finals too, where that wasn't even a thing, and you didn't have an Andre Iguodala swooping from him. He was great all playoffs. He was, especially once Durant went out, he was the best player in the playoffs. And even before that, you could have argued. So, props to Toronto, man. Congratulations to all the Toronto fans out there.
Yeah, you definitely got to give it to them. It's just disappointing in ways, but at the same time, that's sports for you.
It'll be remembered as a Durant series. It's always unfortunately for Toronto, it's going to be remembered as the Durant Achilles
I just wish
series.
Klay wouldn't have got hurt because at the very least there would have been a lot of good storylines coming out of that. But because he got hurt, honestly, him getting hurt was the best scenario for that original Warriors team because they can't be like, well, we could, they couldn't do it without Kevin Durant because we really don't know.
Yeah, and they were in Game 6.
They were in Game 6.
If he doesn't get hurt, they might. There's a good chance they pull that game out. Then it goes to Game 7, and who knows what happens in Game 7? So
that one game you didn't play too. That's another one.
Exactly.
They could have won that. You never know.
When Golden State inexplicably opened up as 5-point favorites without Klay Thompson or Draymond. Or Kevin Durant.
Oh wow, that's a good bet, man.
Thank you to the general public for loving the Warriors.
That's a great bet. Yeah,
oh, yes.
For sure.
Maybe
never thought of that. So, what do you think about the KD injury? I know it's been talked about ad nauseum, so we don't have to go on it for a long time. But.
Well, obviously, a ruptured Achilles injury is an awful injury. You've seen. It pretty much ended Kobe Bryant's career. Now, granted, different situation. Kobe was a little older when he did it, Durant's still in his prime. Guys definitely hardly ever come back with the same quickness, the same agility. I will say the one thing that does play in Durant's favor with this injury is that he's a very skilled basketball player, and he knows how to get space for open shots. Plus, his arms are so freaking long, he can shoot over most defenders anyway.
Right.
So I think when he comes back, I think he'll actually recover from this injury better than most guys have in the past, just because of his skill set and also his physical features with the wingspan and
I feel like his quickness isn't necessarily his
right.
That's definitely not his best factor.
I mean, he might not be the same Durant. He probably won't be the same Durant that we knew just because the injury's bad. But he's definitely going to get a max contract. And the team should give him a max contract. He's still going to 80-90% of Kevin Durant coming back from that injury is way better than most players in the NBA. So definitely worth of a max contract. And I think he's still, 29 or 30? I think 30. So he's still not super old, but he'll come back and still have a pretty good career. He'll probably play at a high level for another 3 or 4 years. But I mean, it's still a devastating injury, and I hope as a basketball fan, he is 30, by the way. I just thought here, but as a basketball fan, I hope he can come back and still be 80-90% of what he was, and still have a few more solid years at an elite level left. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people debate, whether he should have played or not. I don't know. I think he 100% should have played. It's an NBA Finals. What more do you have to play for? The doctor said it looked good. People act like the doctors were lying or something. The doctors wouldn't just lie about that. Like they thought their diagnosis was that he probably wasn't going to re-injure it. And I mean, you're playing for a championship, like I said. And I mean, he's getting a max contract too, no matter what. So it's kind of like, he didn't lose anything. He didn't have anything to lose, and he had a championship to gain, which is everything. So
also, people forget because we almost lose it. I mean, obviously, the money's big. I'm not trying to downplay that, but people forget like these dudes do, or at least most of them, maybe not all of them. Most of them love to play basketball.
Exactly.
They're competitors, and like you said, it's the NBA Finals game. You're down 3-1 in the
they're acting
NBA
like
Finals.
This is just like a playoff game or something.
Like, it's not like a first or second round game where your season probably wasn't going anywhere anyway. It's the goddamn NBA Finals. Like, and also, he's an adult. He made it.
Exactly. Everybody's acting like he's this little kid who got like Jalen Rose is an embarrassment. First of all, I can't stand anything that guy says.
Was he going off on the Warriors for?
Listen to this. He was going off on the media saying that he said this for days straight. And Stephen A. finally had enough, but he was like, the media got their pound of flesh. They got their piece of flesh. Like basically saying that the media and the fans convinced Kevin Durant to play and stuff. And I'm like, and Stephen A. Smith's like, you are the media, you dumbass. Like what the hell? Like I don't know, man.
Weird thing is
that's such a bad take. Like why?
Jalen Rose usually isn't that kind of a guy. I normally like Jalen Rose's analysis. It's weird that he would say that, but I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with that at all. Like, and look, the media does definitely do shit. Like, I'm not trying to say they don't, but he's like I said, he's a grown man. He wanted to play, and I mean, now I will say this: if the Warriors were pushing on their end, which I mean, it's still unclear whether they were or not. They might deserve a little flack for that, but I mean, at the end of the day, he made his decision to play.
He didn't have to play.
And I honestly, I don't have any inside information, obviously, but just my gut tells me that, I mean, I don't think Durant played out of guilt or everyone kind of relies on me.
No,
so
he played because he wanted to prove that they need.
Exactly.
That's 100%.
Exactly. So, which, like I said, I'm pretty sure he made that decision. He made the decision, fine with it. You can nitpick whether the Warriors are pushing or not, but at the end of the day, he made the decision, and it's very unfortunate. It sucks, but
yeah, he's got to live.
It's the breaks of the game.
He's got to accept. I mean, if he just accepted it, it would go down last year.
Yes.
So let's jump into the Anthony Davis trade. I know you wanted to break down the numbers.
Juicy.
I'll tell you my opinion as a Pelicans fan. I mean, overall, I liked it to a degree. I really wish we would have got Kuzma out of it, but I think the Lakers had some leverage because they knew, if we kept waiting, the longer we waited, the less they'd have to give up and the less other teams would want it. And Anthony Davis also basically telling the Celtics to go fuck themselves, really kind of screwed us too because, they weren't going to give up one of their big assets because of that.
Right. I don't think the Celtics I don't think it was just Anthony Davis.
Yeah, the Kyrie thing too.
Kyrie leaving, once he was out the door, I really think the Celtics weren't going to give up the farm for
I wouldn't even wanted the farm though. Honestly, like I would have taken just Jason Tatum for Anthony.
That's the
Davis.
thing. Though. I think they would want to build around him going forward.
But I think I think if like Anthony Davis was willing to sign a long-term contract with them, I really think that
they would have thought about it.
Why would you, dude? Anybody would want Anthony Davis over Tatum. Like that's the thing. When you really look at it like that, the whole reason we're trading Davis because he won't sign. So it's kind of like.
And the thing with that too is, if I know everyone now the Kawhi trade for Toronto worked out so well for this 1 year. I mean, obviously they get him to resign. That's just gravy on top. But I'm starting to wonder if too many people are now like saying, "Oh, well, it worked at Toronto, so now everyone should trade a ton of assets to risk in one player." You gotta have nuance with every situation. This Toronto situation was one of those deals where if you go back a year and picture where Toronto was before this year. It was an aging veteran team that probably capped out on how far they were going to go with that nucleus with Lowry.
I think DeRozan hit a ceiling too. I don't think DeRozan's going to get any better. Like,
so at that point, you're like, we've been to the conference finals a couple times. We're probably not getting much better from here. Lowry's getting older. DeRozan's probably peaked. It's Kawhi, not Kawhi. Masai Ujiri looked at the situation and like basically. There's one of two options here. He saw the Kawhi situation. All the teams were like, no, we don't want to trade for Kawhi. He saw an opportunity, and he's like, Toronto probably should rebuild, but you know what? We're going to make a big trade for Kawhi and see how it pans out for a year. We might only get him for a year, but let's see how he works and give whatever we're not going to trade in that trade, the rest of the veteran nucleus, along with a couple of young guys they have, Siakam, OG Anunoby, around Kawhi. Give it 1 year. If it doesn't work, then we can start the rebuild that this team is probably earning for to begin with. But it turns out it freaking worked out perfectly. They got a great coach for the team. Kawhi was awesome. They won the title. And, I mean, they still might be headed down that path if he leaves. But, I mean, at the end of the day,
they're successful no matter what because they won.
A point is with Toronto, that was a team that was going nowhere fast. And it's like, this is the time if you're going to go all in on something and make a risky proposition, this is the time to do it. You look at the Celtics right now, they still have a lot of really good young players. Like, I know this last season was a mess, but Jason Tatum, he didn't have a great season. Still, that dude has a ton of potential. He's fucking 21 years old. He's been in the league 2 years. Yeah. Like, give him time. Yeah. Jaylen Brown's a great young player. They have a lot of picks going forward. I thought Horford was going to resign with him. Now that might. We'll say that's free agency. That's a different thing. But if you're the Boston Celtics, you're getting that Memphis pick that they have.
They should have signed Terry Rozier a while ago. Not a while ago, but they should have tried to lock him up because I think he's a great.
I don't think they wanted to lock themselves in the room in case something could open up with Anthony Davis. But the Celtics aren't in that same position as the Raptors were a year ago. Like, this is a team that's
right. They're not ready to win now.
Yeah. And also,
they need some development and all that.
Give Gordon Hayward some time as well because he had a awful broken leg injury and he would just come back. They probably rushed him back from that too soon this past year to begin with.
And there was no reason to do that. That's the whole. I think that was like a problem a lot of players had. They rushed him back, and it's like
people want to talk about Golden State mishandling the Durant situation. What Boston did with Hayward was
totally mishandled.
But they're trying to rush him back in like November. It's like, what are you doing?
They had all year to get him back and going. And then if that didn't work out, they could have just had him coming off the bench. And instead, that's such a weird move from Brad Stevens.
Yeah, it was very un-Celtic. Like usually Stevens and that front office usually.
I just feel like I really feel like. Honestly, Stevens feels like deep down like he kind of owes Hayward for like kind of putting him on in a way. Like maybe he like feels a little guilty or something about that. Because I mean, in a way, like Hayward's success, where were they playing? Wherever they were playing in college, kind of helped.
Butler.
Yeah, kind of helped put Brad Stevens on the map. I mean, that's what everybody heard about.
Mm-hmm. Got an NBA job.
So.
But yeah, like the Celtics are not in the same position as the Raptors. So to say, oh well, we're for the Raptors, let's not do it. Or in the future, for any team that could be in that scenario and trying to debate themselves, you still gotta take your circumstance into consideration when you're thinking about doing that kind of stuff. And just because it worked with Toronto, that doesn't mean it's something other teams should. I mean, like I said, I don't think teams should be totally against it either. Like I said, it's a case-by-case situation. It's not a one-size-fits-all just because it worked in Toronto.
But I think I mean, what you're saying basically is like a team that's one superstar away from winning now should maybe make that trade if they don't have to give up a lot of assets.
Probably, yes. Especially if you don't have to give up a lot of future young assets.
Like, it's good that, like, if you can swap, like, your star for, like, a star that's better or fits in your system better, that might be, like...
Yeah, that would be worth it. You got to realize Toronto also traded away DeMar DeRozan and Jonas Valanciunas, basically.
Yeah, because they got Marc Gasol for that.
Well, no, they traded for him later in the season. Oh, wait, no, that's right. Valanciunas,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, no, they traded away DeMar DeRozan.
That was another solid trade though, because Valanciunas he didn't really fit that system as well as like. I feel like they played great with Ibaka at the 5, honestly. Or I mean, I guess Gasol would, but Gasol came off the bench a lot. I feel like, or he was starting. They kind of changed up a little bit.
They changed up a little bit. Jakob Poeltl, that was the center that I was thinking of. They sent him and DeRozan to San Antonio. I know they sent a big European center. I got my European centers mixed up there. It was Jakob Poeltl. Great trade. No.
Oh yeah.
Big sure Spurs fans were sick to their stomach watching that series. So, I don't feel bad for them at all because they've had so much success over the years.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. they kind of mishandled that Kawhi situation
did.
big time. Tony Parker saying that really fucked them up. But anyway, back to the Anthony Davis trade. I wish we would have got Kuzma. I mean, looking back, honestly, now, I know we got a lot of young pieces that we have to see how they pan out for the 4th pick, but I almost would have rather Kuzma over the 4th pick. I just think Kuzma's like the thing is about the NBA draft, I've been looking at the past drafts, and I almost feel like it's like 80% of the first round is gone. Like, they're garbage. They don't do anything. Like, I mean, maybe a little bit different percent, but I feel like it's like one in every 5 players drafted.
This draft, well, usually that's probably around what it is, but.
And that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. This center dude he just seems like that we drafted. He seems like he's going to be a bust. I mean, I really hope he works out, but I mean, there's talking about starting him in the G League. Like, what is that?
Yeah,
you can't draft a player top 10 and put him in the G League.
This is the thing. One, with this draft, like, I have no idea. With this draft, it's a very, like, weird draft. It's interesting in a way, so there's some interesting prospects in this draft, but it's also very unknown, and this draft very well could be. Like, but that's my whole point is that Kuzma's established already, and to have a player established, not only established, but like, I mean, he's like sort of teetering on that all-star range. Like, I don't feel like he was like really like that. He's got a little ways to go.
That's what I'm saying. Like 2-3 years down the line, I could see him being an all-star.
Yeah, it's possible.
And all the players we drafted, I feel like the chances of one of them becoming an all-star is pretty low. I mean, possibly. It could happen. Like, I hope it does, but it just doesn't. I mean, based on everything I've seen in past drafts, it seems like we have a less chance of one of them becoming an all-star.
Well, first of all, you did turn in number 4 to 8-17, so
and 35.
That made 35.
We did get 3 players.
That makes sense in a way, especially in the draft where you're past like the elite range. It's probably better. It's almost kind of like the Bill Belichick philosophy.
I agree with the trade. I agree with trading that 4th pick back. I think that was a good point. Like a good trade.
I thought it was a great haul, and I think mostly because of the future assets you got from the Lakers. I mean, because if you break down what they got back in that trade, they got back in 2021. They got a pick with a reverse protection, which is something that I have never seen before. Where, all right, so in 2021, if the Lakers pick is outside of the top 8. They keep it for that year, and then it rolls over to being totally unprotected in 2022. That could be very important. I'm going to explain that in a minute. In 2021, if they somehow have a disaster season in the top 8, all right, you get a top 8 pick. Great. That 2022 draft, 2022 is an interesting year because it is the proposed year where a lot of people think the NBA is actually going to end the one-and-done rule. So you're going to have that one. It's probably most likely going to happen within like the 2022-2024 window, which is also great for getting a lot of picks from the Lakers for then. So there's going to be one draft. Like I said, 22 is the most likely to be the one where you're going to have the last of the one and dones along with the top high school prospect all in the same draft. People are calling it the double draft. So you're going to have like a ton of prospects. So if that pick doesn't land in the top 8, which is very likely it won't because That'll only be the second year in a LeBron and Davis. They'll still probably be at least in the playoffs, assuming nothing catastrophic happens, either one of them. You get that unprotected in 2022 in the double draft. That's a legit asset. That's a great asset to have. You will have your own pick and that pick in that draft. That's either going to get you a prospect from a loaded draft, or you could flip that into an all-star a few years down the road. You also get there unprotected in 2024, which who knows what the Lakers look like at that point. Because you got to think about it. LeBron is going to be 40 years old in 2024. Davis will be in his early 30s. I mean, who knows who else is on the team then. That could be a good pick. And then in 2023 and 2025, you have the rights to swap first with them if their pick's better than yours.
That's a great.
So you got a ton of future assets down the road. Whatever you think about, I'm actually slightly optimistic about Lonzo Ball on this team.
Yeah, he's been hurt. I mean, he's been hurt a lot. He's been decent. He's a good defender.
Yeah,
I like the pieces we got.
I think him and Zion could play a good two-man game. Lonzo Ball's an excellent passer. Obviously, the jump shot is a problem, and you would like to see that get better. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But everyone else is like freaking out. Oh, we're gonna have LeVar Ball around the team now. Like, he's annoying.
He's not a rat. He's not a rat. He's not like he's at team practice.
Right, exactly. I think it's
like
very.
He just has unlimited access. Like,
it's very overplayed how much of an effect it actually has.
I don't think he was even around the Lakers at all. Like, honestly, you didn't hear about it.
Now that may have been LeBron's doing, but that's a different story.
But still, yeah, David Griffin's not gonna let that dude fucking.
I would not worry about that.
I'm not worried about that in the slightest. Ingram worries me a little bit with the blood clots, but if he can play, I think he's a good young piece.
And just briefly, after what LeVar Ball did last time he was on first take, you might not hear from him much anymore.
Oh yeah, I thought that was ridiculous, but for another day, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a day. Like I said, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah. So yeah, going back to the trade. Yeah, Brandon Ingram, that's a wild card in that trade. That could turn out to work very well for the Pelicans. He did show signs of being a pretty good shooter.
Yeah, before he got taken out, he was looking great. Yeah, when LeBron went down. Yeah,
but the blood, he was inconsistent, and then you factor in the blood clot, so
scary because he could not play at all. But,
and then Josh Hart, he's a nice guard off the
bench. He was really good his rookie year. I feel like he took a step down, but yeah, Josh Hart, good upside. Like I've been telling people, if out of all these prospects, what do we have? We have 5. We had 2 first-round picks. Besides, I don't count Zion. I think Zion's a given. But we have 2 first-round picks plus that second-round picks. That's 3, and then we have 3 players from the Lakers. 6 players. I think if 2 of those turn into all-stars and Zion becomes what everyone thinks, I think we 100% won that trade.
We'll have Drew Holiday for those few years, too.
Yeah, we'll have Drew. I mean, I like our team going forward. It's exciting, especially as a Pelicans fan. I mean, obviously Zion alone.
I also think Drew Holiday is a nice guy to have on that team.
He's a great leader, and he's not selfish. He's not flashy. He's not like he's a good guy essentially.
Right. You also know because a lot of times you see like big time prospects. Obviously, they're getting drafted high, and they're usually going to shitty teams because that's why they're drafting that high. And usually they don't have a lot of veteran guys, and sometimes it gets a lot out of control. You don't really have a quote-unquote adult in the room. I think Drew Holiday kind of plays that role pretty well with this young roster. I mean, I think Zion's already pretty legit in terms of character, but I mean,
no, Zion's you can't get a better character.
Drew can work with the guards. Maybe work with
Lonzo
on the shooting a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. The passing instincts are there with Lonzo. He just needs to learn. To fine-tune that jump shot.
I don't ever remember a team besides the recent Celtics actually with Kyrie out, but I don't remember a team with this many young pieces coming up together.
Yeah.
Ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a fantasy team where if you're playing, NBA 2K or whatever, and you just want to kind of start with a bunch of young guys, this is kind of what you would do.
It's going to be a great league pass team for this year, next year, the year after that. I see Ingram goes into restricted free agency after this year. He'll be the last year of his rookie deal. But, I mean, as long as the blood clots just don't stop him and he keeps getting better, I don't see why y'all wouldn't bring him back. But, yeah, that trade overall, I thought it was...
I mean, we can look to the flip side of the Lakers. I feel like the Lakers...
I
don't know, man. Everybody's saying they're going to be in the finals this year and stuff. I do think LeBron's going to come with a different energy this year because I feel like everybody's kind of forgotten about him a little bit. Everybody's kind of talking like he's not really even in the league anymore because he didn't make the playoffs. But I mean, the Lakers are playing with a bunch of bums. I think they need to, if they're trying to be competitive, I think they just need to add depth and not try to sign another big name. Because if they try to sign another big name, they're not going to win.
I mean, they're already going to be very strapped. And unless they can, and I'm going to go over this. Actually, I'll go over it now. So with this trade, this is a very interesting situation because the Lakers want to try to push this deal back to July 30th so they can have more cap space, maybe to have even the max slot. Whereas the Pelicans, originally the Lakers wanted to do it July 6th because they didn't know the cap rules.
Yeah, which is
freaking
hilarious.
That just made
Their front office
it's the gift that keeps on giving. But now they're realizing it'd be better to do it July 30th. Of course, the Pelicans want to do it July 6th for numerous other reasons. So here's the difference. I'm actually going to go in depth of the difference between the two scenarios. So the way, since the trade's not official yet, this is what the Lakers' salary looks like right now for 2019-20. You've got LeBron James on the books at $37.4 million, Lonzo Ball at $8.7, Ingram at $7.2. You've got Mo Wagner at $2 million, Kuzma and Harder each at $1.9, Isaac Bonga is at $1.6, and Jamario Jones is at $1.4, which totals out to be about $66 million in total salary cap. Plus, and this is a weird little wrinkle in the salary cap that I didn't realize before. If you have less than 12 players on your roster, for each empty spot, because every team has to start the next season has to have a minimum 12 guys. Every single empty spot counts as a cap hold for the veteran minimum spot, which is a little over $1 million. So they have right now with that roster, they would have 4 empty spots. So add an extra $4 or $5 million to what they have on salary, which goes up to $70 million, which still gives them the projected salary cap is supposed to be $109 million next year. So it still gives them $39 million in cap space. So they could sign if they wait till July 30th to do the trade. They would then sign the number 4 pick so they can use that pick as salary in the trade, because once you sign your draft pick, you can't trade it for 30 days. That's why you wait till July 30th. So then that bumps you up to about $76 million. So you're still going to have about $32, $33 million to play with, which is right around the number you need to sign a 30% max guy, a.k.a. a Kawhi or Kyrie. That takes $32.7 million. You could sign one of those 2 guys and then do the trade on July 30th as a team over the cap and basically match salaries or come close to it with the Pelicans. You have to send out you can take in no more than 125% of what you send out. So as long as you make the salaries match, which they would be able to, I looked it up, they did it. It'd be like 30, assuming Davis doesn't waive the trade kicker, which he probably wouldn't. It'd be 31 coming in, about 29 going out. So they wouldn't match salaries and they would do the trade then. And they could get their max guy if they really wanted another max player. If the trade has to go down July 6th, which is probably looking like where it is now, they would do the trade. Obviously, the 4th pick wouldn't be signed, so it doesn't count as salary going out. Their salary would then be $80 million total. That's not including the empty roster spots. And if they did that trade, they're obviously losing some roster spots because they're trading away 3 players and getting 1. So they would have the $80 million with LeBron, Davis, and then the 4 other guys that they would have there, plus the $6 million in just roster charges because you have 6 empty roster spots. That puts you at $86 million. That's $23 million in cap space. That might not even get you a lot of depth. That might get you 1 solid player and then maybe another mid-level guy at most. And if Davis waives the trade kicker, which he probably won't, but maybe talk him into it, that's an extra $4 million. So now you're at 27, 28. It's a little more room. Still not enough for a max. We want to sign the 3rd guy. I'm with you. I think they should go for depth with that team. Like if they could somehow swindle like a Danny Green and then maybe a Brook Lopez at like $12 million.
That's what I was thinking.
I think that would be ideal. That would be like best case scenario for them. But if they do the trade July 6th and they can't get Davis to waive the trade kicker, $23 million is like that's
I don't
not
understand.
A lot of space.
So I don't understand why is it proposed trades? Why do they do it that way?
Because the league year doesn't start until July 1.
Why do they not fix that?
Which is free agency. How would you fix it?
Why does it need to? Why do they have to have a new year to like? Why don't they just do it the way the NFL does?
So you're saying they should do the draft. So you're saying they should do the draft and free agency after July 1? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
You could.
Or just move or just move
You could do
or
that.
just move the league year starting as soon as the finals end.
Yeah. I mean,
It doesn't make any sense. So what happens if one of these teams got can they get out the deal technically?
technically, but I mean,
So then what?
but
So
the
then
thing
so
with
then
that,
they
the
get
thing
the,
with that though is if you do that, no one's going to trade with you anymore.
But then so what would
So-
happen? So would they get whoever the Hawks drafted fourth?
Well, originally they would have to sign that. Now the thing is for the Pelicans, well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt them a ton if the trade did wait till July 30 to go down. Then you wouldn't be able to get those 8 and 17 picks that you drafted. You wouldn't be able to get those guys in the summer league roster,
Right.
since you wouldn't be
So
able to.
who's
get
it up
July
to
30.
wait or not?
It's going to be the two sides are just going to try to swindle each other into doing it at one point. There also could be a third team to hop in there. The Lakers want to.
What leverage does either team have if you're saying no team would trade with them if they got out of the trade? So what could they even threaten or say?
Well, are you talking about the leverage point from the Lakers or the Pelicans?
Either one.
Well, the Pelicans could say, look, I mean, it would be a very weak leverage point, but they could shop Davis around to other teams and say, hey, we might ask other teams if they'd be willing to offer. And
More the Lakers.
the Lakers probably would have a little more leverage in that, just because obviously the Pelicans would obviously they want that package, and also they would probably want their draft picks in to.
So they would get the
to do
fourth
that.
pick.
So
The
no,
Lakers would get the Hawks fourth pick.
The Lakers would get the Lakers are giving the Pelicans the fourth pick, and then
So I'm saying
the Pelicans would then flip around and do that trade. But if you do it July 30, you can't do it till.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if the Lakers completely got out of the trade, they would get the Hawks fourth pick.
No, they would get the fourth pick. Yeah.
And so the Hawks would get the guys the Pelicans draft.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, dude,
It's
so
a
dumb.
weird
That's
weird
so
situation.
dumb,
This
dude.
is a very rare. I've
That's
never.
really dumb. Did the Lakers actually call in and draft the guy the Hawks tell them to?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is ridiculous. That is
but
so.
it's a
ass
thing
backwards.
where if you did screw it always works because if you did screw up, no one would ever trade with you ever again. So you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, you would lose too much credibility amongst executives in the league.
Why do they not fix that though? Dude?
Now,
If they ever have a big dick
you
fucking
could
executive,
argue-
dude, they could screw everybody.
You could argue the one thing I would fix if you could fix it would be to move the draft till after the new year starts. But then again, I really do think the league likes the whole free agency thing going on in July 1, and that would disrupt that.
So why don't they just move the draft up then?
What?
Move it to right before the draft. Not the draft. Move the New Year League up. Why don't they just move that to right before the NBA draft?
I mean, you could do that. I mean, that.
So it makes sense. As soon as the
It's-
finals will be over, it should be a new year.
Yeah, I mean that is something you could suggest. I guess. Yeah.
All right. Well,
It's
anyway,
craziness. It's
That's
fun, but it's also like
It's
it's
insane.
it's insane. Yeah, it is.
I mean, you could screw over multiple teams doing that.
Yeah, like I said though,
But what if
no
you
one will
were
trade
what
with
if you were on your
anymore.
way out?
No one will
What if
trade
you
with you
what if you're an exec on his way out, Connor?
I mean, then you never get a job ever again. No one else is gonna hire you after if you did something. That's very this trade's gonna happen. I'm just this is sheer hypothetical.
Yeah.
And all for practical purposes. I mean, it's going to go down. It's just a matter of when it goes down. And also, the league's going to be filing in a ton of draft trades on July 1 because there was so many trades in that draft. But and yeah, then you have.
So, what do you think about the draft in general? Any highlights?
Like I said,
Zion
it's-
stole the show, but
I actually like the guy y'all drafted at 17, the Virginia Tech guard.
okay. I never heard of him. before the draft.
He's a good shooter, decent defender, Virginia Tech. I'm not saying he's going to be a great NBA player by any means. I just like it at that spot, and considering you're going to need shooting around
He's
Zion.
big, 6'5". I like that as his guard. So
You're going to need shooting around Zion, and obviously Lonzo Ball's going to have much shooting. You're going to need shooting around those kind of guys. And Zion, I think his jump shot, it's not great, obviously. Might not be as bad as people are making it out to be, but you still got to. Yeah, anytime you have a big playmaker, you're going to want shooters around, which is also why I think y'all should be watching the Beal situation out a little bit and see how that goes.
Yeah,
but no,
that's kind of
like
that's why I wanted to draft. What's his name? Cam Reddish, just because I feel like Cam's got a ton of upside and.
I mean, the guy that shot 32% at Duke last year, playing next to RJ Barrett.
I'm just saying, dude. I think he's got.
That's just this is my opinion.
He was projected a top 3 pick.
I'm not a big Cam Reddish guy, but that's.
I just think he's got a lot of upside. There's not a lot of guys that stand out in this draft to me besides the top 3.
I mean, fair. I don't know.
I like Hachimura. I thought he would have been a great pick. I don't know why we didn't pick him. I think Garland, for some reason, I think he's going to be a star. I don't know why.
You know what's weird about Hachimura is, I personally liked him, but I was hearing on other podcasts, around the league, people were revealing like their top, their big boards, and people had, like with most of the prospects in this draft, because it was just such a weird draft in terms of prospects. People had Hachimura all over the place. Some people had him top 10. Some people had him like late first round.
Yeah.
Some people it was insane how all over the place people were with him. Him in particular. I mean, everyone they kind of were, but I would have. Let's see how this Jackson Hayes guy works out. I mean, I also think David. I would trust David Griffin. I mean, obviously you're not going to nail no one nails every pick, but I would wait to see how it turns out. It could turn out really well if you have if you're playing a guy next to Zion that can, stretch the floor with his athleticism a little bit, play pick and roll 2-man game with him, have all that length and athleticism between Zion and Jackson Hayes, that could work out well for y'all. Obviously, it could get a little jammed with those two on the floor, so unless you have like a lot of shooting around all three of them, which if one of those players is also Lonzo Ball, that could be a problem.
True. But, I just don't like hearing might start in the G League. That kind of like.
That's not a bad thing, though. Let guys develop.
How many players have started in the G League and been successful, though? Do you know? Is there any?
Not any huge success stories yet, but I also think as time goes on, that's going to become more of a thing. A lot of teams are going to start putting like more prospects into the G League. The NBA is basically trying to turn that into like the farm system, with like minor league baseball is with baseball and farm system in terms of player development. I don't think it's a bad thing to have a guy try to develop in the G League for a year or two. Plus, I mean, I don't
think it's a bad thing.
Teams have already been doing that the last couple of years with some guys, so we need over the next couple of years we'll see how that works for some of them. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I know the Rockets alone have had that Daniel House guy has been back and forth between the D League and us, and I like what he's done as a 3-and-D wing already for us. So give it time. It's not the worst thing in the world, really. Other than like your surefire prospects, it's not a bad thing to send someone. No, if someone like RJ, if someone like RJ Barrett went to the D League, then that would be a different story. But I mean, which I actually think. The more I've looked into RJ Barrett, the more I'm starting to buy into him. Now, unfortunately, for his sake, at least this year, the Knicks are probably going to be absolutely terrible. And they might not get any free agents, which we can get to free agency soon. But, I did like that pick. And honestly, John Morant's a no-brainer at number 2 for me.
Definitely. Yeah, no, RJ Barrett I think is going to be great. He seems like he's embracing the challenge.
Also, slight interesting pick to look for. I like the Jared Culver to Minnesota. I think Minnesota needs like a scorer. Yeah. They could get interesting too in terms of flexibility if they can find someone to take on the awful Andrew Wiggins contract, which that's.
I know. Why did they do that?
Good luck with that because I don't know who the hell's going to want that. But
we knew Wiggins wasn't that good, and then they just were like, well, he had a good year.
Yeah. Yeah, that one even at the time I was trying to figure that one out.
You know what I kind of like in the draft that's random is Grant Williams. I don't know why. I feel like he's going to be a decent piece. I don't think he's going to ever be great, but I think he's just going to be like a solid,
Did he go to Boston? He went to the Celtics? Mm-hmm. Okay. Grant Williams was a solid player at Tennessee. I watched the. Yeah, I did watch a good bit of SEC. So him and Schofield obviously had really good college careers. I like where Schofield went to. He went in the second round. I'm trying to. Who did he go to? I remember liking that fit for him too. No, Admiral Schofield. Wizards. Yeah, he went to Washington.
They
That's
had a good draft, actually.
yeah. I like their draft, and they definitely needed one. And, be interesting to see what they do with Bradley Beal going forward. But yeah, you want to
let's jump into free agency. So we'll just jump right off that. I think that you're talking about the Pelicans maybe trading for Beal. You know who I want the Pelicans to trade for? I don't know if you're gonna like this or not, but I kind of want them to trade or not trade, sign in free agency. I kind of want them to sign Al Horford. I think Horford would be such a good mentor to Zion, dude. I think it would be good.
You want to give him 4 years, $120 million?
I mean, that's the only thing. The contract's scary. I don't want to give him that contract. But I would like if we could somehow get him to a 2-year contract or something, I would like that.
I was just getting ready to say, I was talking to one of our friends the other day about that. And a 2 or 3 year deal, maybe.
Because you're right. I don't want to lock up a bunch of. I don't want to sign a bunch of players and use all our money on a bunch of bums. We could wait. Yeah. We could definitely.
He's another great veteran guy to have, but
I think him mentoring Zion would be huge.
Yeah, and also, but you also got to look at it from his perspective too. He's probably looking to sign with at least someone who could contend soon. So I'm not sure if he's.
No, that's true. I was just throwing it out there.
A young rebuild, like the Pelicans.
Right.
Honestly, and this is another problem with this guy. You could get Brook Lopez for a lot cheaper of a deal. I actually think that'd be pretty decent, but once again, I'm not sure if he's looking to go to a kind of a rebuild situation. Although playing with Zion could be.
Yeah, that'd be exciting and fun and stuff. I mean, at least you'd be on TV and all that. I mean, I think we can make if Zion is what people think he is. If he's like a young LeBron or whatever, I think we can make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I've heard some people link Marc Gasol to the Pelicans too. First of all, that's assuming he declined his $25 million option for this year,
which I don't see that.
I mean,
you think he's making that?
If you want to take the risk, go for it, man.
I don't want Marc Gasol, dude. Marc Gasol, I don't know. He turned into a totally different player, at least in Toronto. I feel like
he's at a different stage.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. He's not a bruiser anymore. Yeah. We could use that at center, like a bruiser.
And he's also not a consistent enough shooter to where.
No, he's not.
I
didn't think he was that. I just didn't think he was that good for Toronto. Honestly, I thought he was all right. He showed up sometimes, but
he had a good finals.
I just feel like overall he wasn't that great.
His 3-point shot was a little up and down, and it was a little annoying at times seeing him pass up some open threes that he had, but he was really good. He was really good defensively in the finals. He knew where to be at all times. He gave him a rebounding presence. He was a competent shooter. So I mean, he was all right. But for the Pelicans, I kind of agree with you. I'm not really.
I just don't know where does Bradley Beal fit on the Pelicans? Where does he even
fit?
Yeah.
He's a playmaking two-guard who's a really good defender and he hit threes.
I think he's amazing, but we just talked
Where would he not fit?
But that's my point. We just talked about Drew Holiday. So how does Drew and him coincide on the same team?
Drew can play off guard.
So you're saying put Beal at the one? I think Drew at the one is terrible.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, play him off Bradley Beal.
So, okay.
Bradley Beal can make plays, man.
Well, I mean, I get that.
He's a primary ball handler.
Beal's not really.
If you have Beal and Zion are your 2 primary ball handlers. Your 2 primary creators.
I get that.
Those are your creators.
Was he the point guard for the Wizards this year with Lala? Because I'm just looking at him as a shooting guard.
He was kind of.
He was a 2-guard, but he was a playmaker. I'm thinking too, we don't. If with him, we don't ever really develop.
The thing is, though, you got to look at it.
Lonzo's got to start to develop.
You don't want to look at it as much as 1 guard, 2 guard. As much as look at it like, all right, I want 2 creators on my team, at least 2 shooters, and 1 just kind of wild card guy that can do a little bit of everything. And if your 2 creators are Zion and Beal, one of your 2 off guards could be Drew. Obviously, it would be weird with Lonzo Ball on the team.
That's what I'm thinking.
But
we'd have to get rid of him.
I would probably either. I mean. See, though, but when you get an asset like that, you can figure out the rest later.
What would we even be able to give up for him now at this point? I feel like we'd have to give up
it would probably cost you some of those Laker picks. It would. Now, see, that would have been if you could even pull that trade off this year, which it's still questionable whether Washington's looking to trade him this year because they still have him under contract for 4 years. Beal actually just recently came out and said he's willing to stick with the Wizards, which we'll see how long we'll see how long he feels that way. I mean, that team's kind of a mess. But I mean, they're still trying to figure out their front office as well, and they're trying to get a new GM. So they might not look to trade him until next year. But if they were looking to trade him this year, that's one of the reasons why, if I was y'all, I would have looked to kept the Solomon Hill contract and used that contract as a expiring throw-in as a possible trade chip and a Beal deal, because that could give Washington at least a little cap relief. Which, I mean, you're not going to get much of that as long as John Wall's contract's just sitting there. But I mean, you know, it's something. But it would definitely cost you some of the picks. Ingram, if obviously this would have to be some in season. If Ingram shows signs of life, that could be a trade asset. If he's showing like he's coming on a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Beal, but I just don't. I feel like Beal makes us one of those middle of the road teams.
The thing is, though, I don't think you necessarily have to do that trade this year. Like, just let things. That's the thing.
That's
like
what I
everyone,
think. Yeah, we need to let the young assets.
Everyone just wants to like do everything all in
Right
one
away.
summer. It's like.
I think we need to let these assets sit and see.
Yeah, no,
see how they
I agree
pan
with
out,
that. And like I said, the funny thing is, Beal's probably not even going to be available this summer anyway. Like I said, because I think their front office is trying to just figure stuff out, and they probably want to give Beal at least a year or so to play.
Yeah, if
John
they
Wall's
get rid
not
of Beal,
gonna
they're gonna be.
they're going to want someone to get people to go to games
Right.
to see.
I don't think they.
So I don't even think they're going to look to trade him at least right away anyway. So that's just something down the road to just keep your eye on.
Yeah.
You have to, and that's the great thing about having it. Like that's basically what Daryl Morey did with the Rockets with Harden. When Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming were injured and on their way out for a few years, we were just mediocre. He collected assets. He waited until a star became available, and then before you know it, Oklahoma City was ready to trade James Harden. Boom, he pounced on it, and the rest is history. So that you have the assets. That's more than half the battle right there. Now it's just. Play the waiting game, be patient, and wait for someone to come available.
I agree. Russian definitely gonna. That's the surefire way to F this whole situation.
That's what happened with Davis. Y'all went in too quickly. Y'all made that
Davis.
dumb Kyrie
We made
trade.
Oh man, we made so
bunch
many
of other
bad
dumb
moves with
signings,
Davis.
and it just
And then we finally made a signing. I feel like they made him happy with DeMarcus, but then we were like, nah, we're just gonna let him go and not try to sign another star.
The Achilles injury didn't help, but
It didn't help, but I'm just like.
yeah.
After we just let him walk and didn't sign another star, that was our
That was
the end of it. And I think everybody knew it.
And it happened with Chris Paul too.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you know what? Let's give Peja Stojakovic 4 years, $66 million, even though he's in his 30s and he's having back problems. Let's also overpay James Posey 4 years, $40 million for a six man. Let's give 4 years, $40 million for a six man, which that was a horrible contract. So, that's the thing.
I'm glad we finally got ownership kind of out of the front
Mm-hmm.
office, and it looks like we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah. You want to go around some of the big fish out there?
Yeah, let's do it. I guess we can start with Kyrie. I don't know, man. I don't like Kyrie. I don't want him on my team. All right, this is what I'll say about Kyrie. I don't think any young team should try to sign Kyrie. Like the Nets, I think that would be a disaster. I think if he goes to the Nets, he's going to do exactly what he did on the Celtics. He's going to be a big baby, and he's going to screw up their whole young core, and everybody's going to be fighting. I think he needs to go to a team like the Lakers or somewhere like that where he's like a second or third wheel, and he knows his place on that team, and that's he can just focus on basketball, because him trying to be a leader and trying to get young players to rally around him does not work. Players do not want to play for him because he acts like he's better than everybody.
Brooklyn recently is they've kind of made it out there that they're not looking to just sign Kyrie and Kyrie alone.
See, if they get Durant, that's another thing. If Kyrie can go somewhere with Durant, I wouldn't hate that. Or maybe Kawhi, I wouldn't hate that. But for him to go to a young core and try to lead a young core, it's going to be the same result as the Celtics.
I don't think the Nets are going to do it if they're not going to get another guy.
They should.
I really don't.
They
shouldn't, and I don't think they are, because they've seen the one man show,
and he works better on a team.
They've seen the one man shows. They'd rather just give a little less money. Like you could give D'Angelo Russell 22. I think they can give him 22, 23 million or whatever, or give Kyrie 32 million. And yeah, Kyrie in a vacuum is a better basketball player, but you could get Russell at 22 and still have room to sign other people and build a nice team with the nucleus that they already have. They already have nice pieces.
I mean, he's still on the come up. He's got upside. Exactly. I mean, look how much he improved from 2 years ago.
Like if getting Kyrie also helps you get Durant or Kawhi, you have to do it.
Yeah, to do it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was never bullish on the idea of them just getting Kyrie, and I was always wondering, like, they're clearing all this cap space. Like, they really just going to get Kyrie? And of course, it turns out that they've been floating ideas of that, and they might not be. But the hilarious thing is, he might not even be able to go to the Lakers, even if he wants to. But
right, yeah, they probably can't get him. But maybe I don't know. Maybe he signs a 1 year and then goes there next year or something. But we'll see. I would
also just be kind of very surprised if he went back to play with LeBron. I would just be surprised. I don't know. That would just be weird. As a Laker hater, I would fucking love it. But just to see how much of a shit show that would become. But I just don't see him doing that for some reason. I mean, I guess you never know with Kyrie. He's a weird dude, but
so they were talking today. Interestingly, they were talking about if Kawhi goes to the Clippers and how, like, I don't know. A lot of people think if he goes to the Clippers, they'd be the favorite to win the championship. And I think that would be really funny if they played in the playoffs or something and the Clippers beat the Lakers. I don't think you could beat that. I don't think there would be a bet. I don't think there would be a scenario in the world that would piss Lakers.
You can make a really good case that the Clippers would have a better chance than the Lakers just signing.
I think absolutely. They'd have so much more depth. They'd have way more depth. They'd probably sign another player. I think they would be way, way better than the Lakers, at least for a year.
I know, definitely. No, I think they're right there. If my team can ever just get their shit together, and I mean we're right there too. Like the Lakers are not. The concept of them being the automatic favorites in the West.
I don't even think they'd beat the Rockets now that you bring it up, because at least as the Rockets are currently constructed, because the Rockets just have so much more depth. They're not gonna. I mean, what happens when all three of them are out or two of them are out? Like, what are they gonna do?
We also just have more continuity with the current team we have now.
Players, like we talked about on other podcasts, chemistry in basketball matters so much, and it's like everyone's forgotten.
And honestly, for all the shit we get for all the ISO ball we play, I admit we should probably consider mixing it up a little more, particularly in the playoffs. But for all the shit we get for that style of play, we were up 3-2 on the Warriors the other 2 years ago, in 2018, with the Warriors being fully healthy. We won 65 games that year. We were 1 win away from beating them, and then Chris Paul pulled his hamstring. This year we had another. We've come just as close. We've come closer than anybody to beating a fully healthy Warriors team in a freaking playoff series. So, people, it's easy to forget that, especially with all the glitz and glamour of these big moves that teams are making. But we'll see how that goes. But
I think I kind of think Kawhi, though, ultimately he's going to wind up signing a 1-year contract with the Raptors and trying to redo it. They're talking today. That's a good point, is that he's seeing now that since Durant's probably going to get a max, that even if he gets hurt, he'll get a max. So I think that 1 year is less of a risk than he previously thought. And honestly, that's what I would do if I were him. That's the best chance of winning another ship this year, and then you can go to the Clippers and sign a max. And
plus, I'm pretty sure next year also he can, because he'll have another. I think next year will be his. Or no, this is the thing. Next year will be his 8th year, but if he makes, he made an All NBA team. All right, never mind. He would be able. He is available for like the full max this year because he played the whole year as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's not a thing. I'm sorry, I got a cap thing mixed up. But yeah, that would make sense too. Long term. That would make sense just to like give it like a 1-on-1 with Toronto, see how the next year goes with that. And if he doesn't like the way things are going, you can go to the Clippers a year after that. Plus, it would be cool to just see him try to defend the title.
Exactly. I think that's what he's going to be thinking, too. It's like if he goes to the Clippers and then he doesn't win one, he's going to be like, what if I would have stayed? The East is way easier to win.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. Especially with the Celtics now, their future way up. Milwaukee, that's another interesting team this offseason because they have a lot of decisions to make on some key guys, and they're probably not going to be able to bring everyone back. As I'm looking at their roster, currently they have $85 million already on the books for next year. The salary cap is 109. The tax line is 132. They're probably not going to pay that much luxury tax, and if you're going to bring everyone back, they're going to be well over the tax line. They're probably going to owe a good bit in luxury tax. My guess is Mirotic, because I did not see that he'd be eligible for as much as $18.75 million if Milwaukee brought him back next year.
They were talking about the Pelicans maybe.
Mirotic, he might get around $20 million, which would be beyond Milwaukee could even give him. And
that's a little much.
It's going to be tough to bring all these guys back. And you're Milwaukee, you're a small market. It's going to be a little tougher to. I mean, you can pay a little bit of a tax bill, and then Chris Middleton's he might be worth like $30 million. So if you add Middleton on for $30 million, now you're already at $110. You're $22 million away from the tax line, and you still have to make decisions on Brook Lopez and Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon's probably going to command about $20 million or so, which is going to be a very interesting decision on their part to see what they do with him.
I think they should let Middleton walk.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's a little overrated.
It would definitely be an overpay if they max him or give him about $30 million. The thing is, though, they did win 60 games this past year, and you're thinking do you really want to break up a team that was close to winning the title?
Yeah, I mean that is a good point.
And Chris Middleton, he wasn't their second best player in the East Finals. As a matter of fact, he was pretty terrible in the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's what I'm saying.
But he's still your second most talented player. He's a valuable defender. I think his problem is he's not great as your second creator. He's like, I thought Brogdon was probably their second best creator / playmaker for him.
Well, you know who I think they should bring in? Kemba Walker.
Oh, they're not going to have the cap space.
I just think that would be a great fit if they got rid of Brogdon and Middleton.
They don't have the cap space for him.
Even without Middleton and Brogdon?
No, I mean they're already at $85 million, and the cap is $109. So that's only 20.
Without Middleton.
And that $85 million is assuming they renounce Middleton, Mirotic, Lopez, and Brogdon. So they would, even if they brought none of those guys back, they would still only have $24 million in cap space.
So how can they sign Middleton at all?
Well, you can re-sign them using bird rights. When a guy's been on your team more than 3 years, you can exceed the salary cap to re-sign your guys. Okay. It's like the NBA. It's like the soft salary cap basically. Ironically, the goal in having this kind of system is to try to give teams more leverage, to give them more years, an extra year in their contract, and give them more incentive to re-sign with teams. Obviously, that doesn't work that way for one reason or another. Guys just want to live in different places or play with different guys, but that's the whole point of that. So teams don't break up so easily like you see in other leagues. But with Chris Middleton, that's a big number, man.
Well, I guess they really don't have a lot of options.
They don't. Or I mean, I guess the thing is, I'm looking at their contracts. I don't know who they can do a sign and trade with. If they wanted Kemba, it would have to be a sign and trade, and maybe you talk them into you could talk Michael Jordan into taking Eric Bledsoe's contract. That'd actually be a plus for Milwaukee because Bledsoe is another guy that you're a little worried about for them. Maybe if you could talk him into Hill and Bledsoe, or let him take on Bledsoe along with Ilyasova's contract, a few other contracts, and then give him some draft picks. Maybe that'd be the only way you could work some out.
I just think, like you were saying though, Chris Middleton. I just think they need a big time creator, like another creator on that team. I think in the playoffs, when it comes down to those
you're
matchups,
probably right.
You have to have.
I think you're right.
Creators.
It's just
at least two creators. I mean, look at Toronto. Toronto had so many guys that could get their own shot. Like Van Fleet showed up, Siakam, freaking. Obviously Kawhi, Lowry got his own shot a bunch.
And then you have, not that Anunoby's necessarily a playmaker, but throw him into the mix.
Yeah, they had so many players that could get their own shot, and that was seriously lacking on the Bucks. The Bucks once like that. That's where Nick Nurse came in so well. Was once he slowed the game down, he knew how to defend.
He was doing a lot of that man hybrid zone against them before he was doing. Everyone was like gloating over in the Golden State series. They were doing the same thing to Giannis in the Milwaukee series, and that's what flipped the series much.
Big time.
And Milwaukee also was not hitting threes that Giannis was getting for some players, which is a different deal. But yeah, no, you're right, and it's one of those things where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You probably should do it, and they probably will, just because you give the team that won 60 games another shot at it.
Yeah.
But it's also
It's risky.
You're locking down a lot of future salary doing that. So
it's kind of like almost. I mean, and then you can look at it from another way. Like maybe they should wait a year. Maybe they should just not re-sign some of these guys. Like have not so much of a great year. And then try the next year try to get somebody in free agency.
I wonder who they get off of after next year.
Because locking yourself in for that many years with this team, I think is possibly a very bad idea.
So in 2021, so after next year, George Hill, assuming his contract becomes fully guaranteed, which he wouldn't. That means you wouldn't have to get waived by a certain point next year, and then that becomes fully guaranteed. But he comes off the books after next year. They traded away Tony Snell already. It's still not much. That Eric Bledsoe contract's a killer because it was like a 4-year extension or something like that. They're locked in Bledsoe through 2023. So, and after 21, Giannis is going to be out from the rookie extension, and that's going to be a massive deal. So
that's rough.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. The problem is if you let all those guys go and you still don't have cap space to do anything, then you're just kind of stuck in nowhere's land. So you kind of have to bring those guys back so you stay competitive, but it's not optimal. So Milwaukee's going to be quietly, like obviously they're not going to be a player in the Durant, the Kawhi, the Kyrie, or the big names or anybody like that. But they're going to be very interesting to see with some of these middle-of-the-road moves and what decisions they make with some of these guys. Personally, I think I'll probably say they bring – see, they might not be able to bring Lopez back because they can only give Lopez a certain enough to re-sign him without using cap space, which they do not have. And if that's the case, then he's probably walking. Mirotic is going to cost way too much for him. So they're probably looking at bringing back Middleton and Brogdon, and then maybe sign some low-salary guys to a mid-level deal, which I don't know what they're going to get with that. But
looks like we got a report here saying that Middleton's going to test the market too. So.
Oh, he's declined his option.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. They're pretty much making it a formality at this point because if he opted in next year, it would be $19.5 million, and he could get way more than that on the free market, whether it's from Milwaukee or from someone else. So. No, you could make the case if the thing is, you could. I would have to look at some of the lower level guys that would be available out there because if you did renounce all those guys, you'd still have $24 million available. But the thing is, though, would you want to get rid of all those guys? You get rid of so much of a championship roster. Maybe you find some okay values on the market, but it's just too difficult for them with the Bledsoe contract is a huge.
They just signed
if he doesn't step
Why
it
would
up,
they do that?
If he doesn't step it up, that's going to be a lot of dead cap weight for a while for them. And we'll see how that goes. So.
Yeah. So big. I guess the last big thing I wanted to touch on. I mean, we can talk about a couple of these other guys if you want, but Jimmy Butler to the Rockets. I think that.
Yeah, the Sixers.
I think that's a death sentence for the Rockets. Honestly. I think that would be just such a bad idea if the Rockets went with that. I don't think it makes any sense to me at all. He doesn't fit their system in any way to me.
Well, first of all, if you're looking to back off from ISO ball a little bit, I think a lot of people want to throw in Paul and Butler button heads. I think Harden and Butler button heads would be a lot bigger.
100%, dude. Butler is like a worse version of James Harden. He wants the ball in his hands. He tries to do ISO ball a lot. It worked a good bit with the Sixers when they needed it, but you can't have two guys like that on the same team.
Yeah,
and then it takes away their whole what they got going, which is supposed to be like James Harden ISO ball and then dishing it to the 3-point shooting.
Not to mention that trade most likely would cost us Capella and Gordon.
Right, which that's not worth Jimmy Butler.
That's
That's not worth Jimmy Butler to me. I know Capella didn't really show up in the playoffs, but I think Capella's a great piece. And Gordon was great in the playoffs.
And I also think that kind of puts us into a little bit of Lakers territory.
Right, exactly.
In terms of roster thinness.
I just think right now this is y'all's best chance to win with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson out.
I'm with you on that.
The West is a lot weaker right now since that's going on. I think y'all need to try to give this one more chance. I feel like everyone gave up on the Rockets because they lost without Kevin Durant.
Also, I will say I think Harden and Paul, there was a little.
I think you could get rid of Paul and get somebody okay maybe or try.
Who's taking that contract on? I guess there's always some team that's another rough contract. We're talking about bad contracts. Chris Paul, you want to hear these numbers? Check this out. Like this is.
I don't know why they even gave it to him, dude. He was declining.
We had to.
I feel like he was declining before he even went to
the
Rockets.
We were coming off a 65-win season in a season where we should have beaten the Warriors. You have to bring that team back. And at the time when I saw the deal, you could probably ask Stacey this. I told him like, this is going to be a really bad contract in a few years, but it's something we have to do, and we have to give this team another shot to try to win the title. His numbers: 2020, upcoming year, he's owed $38.5 million. In 2021, 41.3. 2022, the last year of that deal, $44.2 million. I'm getting nauseated.
God,
just saying that makes me nauseated.
Talk about somebody screwing up their team.
In 2022, right now, which assuming Capella, we keep Capella, and he's still on the roster. In that 21-22 season alone, we would have $105 million on the books for just 3 players, and it would be Paul, Harden, and Capella. 44.2 for Paul, 43.8 for Harden, 18.5 for Clint Capella.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. I mean, no, it was a win now move, and I defended it at the time. You have to do it when you're a contender and you're in it. You have to say fuck the future. No, you have to say fuck the future and go for it.
I would say you're right if Chris Paul wasn't injury prone, but him being injury prone in that age makes me say I don't know. I don't think you can risk it.
Yeah,
you could have brought a big point guard in that was younger and probably had the same amount of success. It's not like y'all's success was predicated on Paul. I feel like
a lot of it was.
I don't know.
A lot of it.
I feel like it's mostly the system, dude. I know Paul's really good at dishing it out and stuff, but I feel like if you got a pass first point guard that could also shoot, I feel like
once Paul went out in that series, our offense got just. I mean,
but that's because y'all. But that's
we were
what I'm
already
saying. You have to sign a. Right, but that's what I'm saying. You'd have to sign a point guard like.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Harden's like in his prime right now.
But that's what I'm saying.
I don't want to sign a young guy that he might show value a few years down the road. You know?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying try to get somebody that's
don't say
similar
Kemba Walker because absolutely not. I don't want that kind now. Someone's gonna have a big bias.
I think you have a better chance with Kemba.
No, I disagree with that.
Kemba Walker's on a garbage team, dude.
He's a one-side player. He's a good scorer. He can do that. He's a streaky shooter, and he's not a good defender. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I don't want him for that contract. And the way our team was constructed last year, I would rather Chris Paul than Kemba Walker. But this is my opinion. Now it obviously looks a little different now.
But I don't know. Even like a guy like D'Angelo Russell, I feel like would fit perfectly on y'all's team. I just think Chris Paul's old and injury prone, and I don't know. I don't see.
But the thing is, though, like we can't wait around for guys to just pop up and say, "Oh, this guy's good," all of a sudden. You can't waste years when you have guys in their prime. You have to go with your best bets and try to. And we can still win with Chris Paul's still I mean, the playoffs is a little.
He
rough.
looked bad.
He did look bad in the postseason. This team can still win, and we just need to. I think the Harden Paul riff, there was a little bit of.
I don't know why Paul's always fighting with everybody, dude. Paul doesn't get along with anybody.
He doesn't. I mean,
he's always bitching.
That's always been him. That's been his MO throughout his career. But I think it was a little overstated, though. I'd be surprised if he actually asked for a trade. I thought that was people just exaggerating the hell out of something that they can make a story. But look, I would be open if the trade was right. I would be open to considering it to get us some flexibility. But at this point,
I think Jimmy Butler is. I think Jimmy Butler is one of the worst players y'all could sign, though, to be honest. He just doesn't make sense.
So we'll say this though: we're times in the playoffs where we could have used another playmaker, but yeah, him and Harden, it's weird. That would be a weird fit. That'd be a weird dynamic. And plus, not to mention, we're losing a lot of depth because that's costing us Capella and Gordon.
Right.
Gordon could be an excellent trade chip if someone legit, like if Bradley Beal came open.
Yeah, like Bradley Beal would be a perfect player for y'all's system, honestly.
Honestly, I agree with you. I say we go into the season with who we have now, unless someone gives us a great offer for like a Pella or Gordon to get us off some salary. I say we just go in with the team we have now, and if we need to make a move, let's throw the freaking boat at Washington and see if they take it or somebody. But it's every situation. It's also be interesting to see what the Sixers do because do the Sixers even want to trade him? So that's the other thing. We're all saying we're going after it. I'm not sure if that's the other side of this. Even if we somehow wanted to, which
what would Capella be coming off the bench? Like, how would that even work?
And also, if you're the Sixers, I mean, you just signed Joel Embiid to the rookie max extension, and you're gonna now whether they should pay Ben Simmons or not is still debatable, which that's coming up after this year. But you got it'll be interesting to see what they do with those big three guys that are coming off the books this year, which is Butler, Harris, and Redick. My guess is they probably re-sign Butler and Harris and let Redick go because if they bring Jimmy Butler back at the max, they bring Butler back at $25 million. That would put them to right around where the salary cap is. And if you're talking about bringing Redick back, plus maybe bringing some of your other lower the bench guys back, you get close to the tax line. And JJ Redick might also cost too much for them to bring back.
I think he's going to be a bad.
They only have early bird rights on him, which means they can only give him a certain amount of money without using the salary cap space. And I think there's a good chance Redick gets at least $20 million.
I think Redick's going to be one of those contracts to look back on a couple years and be like, that was a terrible contract. I just feel like
he can still play though.
Yeah, I think he's on his way out though.
But the thing is though,
he didn't look good either in the playoffs.
But the things he's really good at, obviously he's a great shooter. He's also very crafty at working around screens and getting space off of screens. And that's like a skill that he'll have. Obviously, he's going to get slower and slower, and physically it's going to be tough for him to get space. So from that aspect, that's probably when his game declines, that's when you'll see decline.
I feel like his shot kind of looked a little off in the playoffs at least.
It was a little off, but I don't think they want to – I really don't think the Sixers want to trade Jimmy Butler. I think they definitely want to bring him back as part of the core of what they have. They know they can win the East, especially if fucking Kawhi leads. And at that point, you're bringing back Harris and Redick and say, all right, we have our core. It might not be perfect, but we almost beat the freaking – for as imperfect as the Sixers are, they almost beat the Toronto Raptors.
They were the closer than any team in the league.
And if it's crazy to think, too, if they win that Game 7 in Toronto, they could have been the NBA champions this year.
It's hard to believe.
It's very possible.
I think they would have beat the Bucks.
I think they would have, too. I think it was a bad matchup for the Bucks. And then they played the wounded Warriors in the finals. So, the Sixers are going to be another very interesting team to see what they do with those three guys, what decisions they make. Like I said, I think they take two of the three back, and the two are probably going to be Butler and Harris. But maybe Morey just loses it. We get a trade-off for Butler, and God help us if that happens. I don't know what to expect from that. It's just it's going to be a crazy next couple of weeks. A lot of stuff's going to happen.
I think a lot of players are going to wind up re-signing with their teams. Like, I think Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson re-sign. I think who else? I think Jimmy Butler re-signs. I think Tobias Harris
Butler re-signs.
I think that we're going to see a lot of. I think Middleton's going to wind up re-signing.
I also agree with you, Harris re-signing, just because I feel like the Sixers are going to almost kind of let their ego get in the way and say, look how much we traded for Harris this past season. Yeah. They traded a good bit for him. And it's like, we're just going to let him walk now? Like, no, screw that. So
yeah, I think
they bring him back. I think, what did you say you think Kawhi does? You think he goes 1-1 with Toronto this year?
Yeah, signs a 1-year deal.
That's the big one for me. Because I don't have a read on that at all. And from what I hear from a lot of people, like no one seems. They say I heard from numerous people that I trust on podcasts with giving good information. They can't even get any information from any of their sources about Kawhi. They don't even get obvious bad information on him. So I'm expecting anything from Kawhi. My gut kind of just tells me with you, he goes 1-1 with Toronto, but it's probably definitely going to be either the Raptors or the Clippers. Although, I guess Brooklyn is still kind of in play, especially if they get Kyrie there. But Also, don't know how crazy Kawhi will be playing with Kyrie, but we'll see how that goes. So.
Yeah, I don't know if Kawhi's going to play with Kyrie, but
The interesting thing too is if that happens, where Durant resigns with Golden State, Kawhi resigns with Toronto. If all that happens, what does happen with Kyrie? Because if the Nets aren't getting anyone else big, I don't think they're going to go after Kyrie. The Lakers probably aren't going to have the space for that. So does he? Is it the Knicks?
right?
Are the Knicks is the Knicks like the default last man standing there?
That might happen, man. You might be right, actually, thinking about it, because I don't think a lot of teams want to really offer him a contract without a guarantee of another superstar. But the Knicks would 100% do it.
And I can't think of any wild cards that would want to do that. Because even the team, I mean, there are teams that are going to have cap space, but a lot of them, it's just they're either not ready to contend yet, or it's like, do you really want Kyrie?
Yeah.
Do you want Kyrie to be your one man?
Like, and Kyrie's not going to go to a small market team. I feel like.
Yeah. So I kind of hope that situation plays out because I want to see what Kyrie does in that situation. But
yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll
a lot
wrap
of stuff
it.
in. Awesome.